guys, it's Tracy. Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about one of my most recent 5-star reads, and that is American Street by Evie Zavoy. The trigger warnings before I get into this review is racism, classism, death of a loved one, domestic and emotional abuse, some explicit and graphic scenes in there, as well as the use of drugs. So just bear that in mind as you go through this book. So American Street follows the story of a girl named Fabiola Toussaint as she migrates from Haiti with her mum to America to live with her mum's sister. When they arrive in America, her mum is actually detained by immigrations and sent to a detention center. They still allow her to get into the country, and she is reunited with her auntie and her cousins. Now, her auntie and her cousin have played a really big part in her upbringing, as they have worked hard in America to send money across to her mum and herself so that she could go to school and then her mum and herself can survive. Once she arrives in America, though, she kind of realizes really quickly that the life that she thought that they had led, and being an American, is very different to what she originally expected. She moves into their home in Detroit and starts to go to school there. She starts to learn of the demographic of the people around her and kind of what a neighborhood is like for people of color or black people. You also get to learn as well whether her mum is released from the immigration center or not. This itself is an incredible story that has so much to unpack and so much to deliver, which is why I gave it a full 5 out of 5 stars. I don't think I have a complaint or anything that I didn't like about this, but there are definitely things that I can pinpoint as to why I loved reading American Street. For one, I really enjoyed that I got to learn something from it. I think as much as I love reading for the fun of reading, it's always a really good experience when you're engaged with the writing, when you can draw a lesson or a meaning from it. The beauty of this is that you will gain something from it regardless of what it is. We might not have learnt the same things or gained the same kind of experience from it, but there is something there for everyone. I fully appreciated the cultural additions to this book, or introducing us to the Haiti culture, especially when it came to explaining voodooism, which I think we think of voodooism in a particular way, and it has kind of a stigma around it. But in American Street, and particularly how Zavoy explains it, there's a different element to it, a very spiritual and somewhat awe-inspiring aspect to it. Obviously, I don't, have that same cultural belief. I don't really have a religious belief either. But to me, that was really fascinating because, like I said, we understand voodooism in a certain way, and the way that Zavoy showcases it, conveys it in this book, is vastly different and allows me to understand exactly what it is, where it originated from, and I don't feel like I'm super ignorant anymore with that particular topic. Of course, there's discussions around racism, classism, around relationships, family, especially loyalty to each other. Is family just purely based on blood, or like the saying says, blood is thicker than water, or whether you can find ties between each other purely on loyalty and what the other person does for you as you grow up and whatnot. But I think the one thing that really stuck with me throughout this entire book is whether a person is inherently bad, whether a person's action reflects who they are, or whether bad deeds can be excused for good intentions. Because at the end of the day, life is not fair and everyone is not equal. We don't get the same opportunities as other people and whatnot, and so how we go about our daily life to ensure that ourselves and our family are safe, are fed, and basically survive, those actions or those things that we do which may create harmful or painful consequences down the track, can they be excused if you've done them to ensure the people around you and the people you love are looked after, if that makes any sense. And honestly, I know that there's always going to be a grey area in that aspect, and I don't have a definite answer to that, because I think that every person's situation is different, and I can't say that I 100% relate to every character in this book and every situation in this book, because obviously I've never grown up in a situation like that. I'm obviously not a black person, as well as the neighborhood that I grew in is very, very different. But it's definitely something to think about, and for me, it's such a great question to raise, and one of the main things that I engaged with. The other thing that I loved was how each character is so distinct. They all had their own storyline and brought something different to the book. Each person went through their own personal experiences so that it delivered, a different, and was able to deliver a different message. Each character went through their own personal experience and learnt something from that, and in turn I got to learn something from each of those experiences. Like, I can still remember each character very distinctively, what they brought to the story, how much I loved all of them. They're all very flawed characters who all have their own intentions and what they wanted out of life. It's hard not to love the main character, Fabiola, because she carries in herself such a big sense of pride and wanting the best for everyone, really loving her mum and her family, and learning about family, but also realizing that she's in a new country, there's new values and new beliefs, and which ones will she pick up, which ones she won't subscribe to. She's very much had to grow up in a very harsh reality, and that's shaped who she is, but also learning to bring out the good in people. But at the same time, I also loved her cousins, who all had their own flair and were somewhat relatable in different aspects. I loved that they all got along with her very well, and they brought her in like a younger sister, that they really understood the meaning of family and of loyalty. I especially loved one of the characters in the book who gets to know Fabiola very well, and he has a pure heart of gold. His name is Kasim, and he just exudes this charm and positivity, but also makes you want to look after him and really wish him the best. So he also stuck with me quite a bit. And lastly, this is a bit of a strange one, but I loved that I was able to be emotionally invested in this, and I found that I cried by the end of the book, which I usually don't do, but I think because I've gone through my own personal experiences, there are some parts of this that I can relate to, and a lot of it, I think, as well, is because Zeboy brings in her own personal experiences into this, what she's grown up with and what she's witnessed, and it really shows how much she cares for her own product, her own content, and what she wants to deliver to her audience. I would say it's been about 3 weeks or so since I finished reading this, maybe even more than that, and I still remember everything so well and the emotions that came with it, which goes to show how much I was really engaged and really emotionally invested in this. It helps that Zeboy's writing really made it easy to be drawn in, the content that was included. It is very confronting and heavy at times, but I loved that, and I loved that it didn't shy away from trying to convey or present these ideas, and these very important ideas that we should be addressing and be aware of. So yeah, I can't speak enough about how much I love this. This is probably a whole video of just me rambling about why you should really read this book. I definitely think it doesn't receive as much attention as it should, because I wholeheartedly would recommend this to everyone and anyone, because of what you gain from it and the experience that you'll get whilst reading it, and just the story. I think the story needs to be heard and be told, and I love that it was told and it's out there for people to read. It's very much a well-deserved 5 out of 5 stars for me. I also love that I've discovered Evie Zeboy, and I really hope that I've been pronouncing your name right throughout this video. I love that I've discovered her as an author, because she's actually about to release a new book with Yusuf Salim, who is one of the 5 boys at the time as part of the Central Park Jogger case is now obviously being released, and I think everyone knows about that case now, especially through the Netflix documentary and series that came out. So Yusuf and Ibi are about to release a book together, which I'm really excited about. It comes out in September. If you have read this book, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below if you are planning to read it as well. I will also mention that my blog actually turned 8 the other day, and I'm doing a giveaway, and one of the books that I'm giving away is American Street, because I think it deserves to be put out there, and I really hope someone else gets to read it and hopefully also enjoy it as much as I did. So that I'll leave a link to that down below. It's still on, and I think it ends maybe in about a week and a half's time, I'm fairly sure. I hope you guys are taking care during this time. I know that for Victorians like myself who are in the second lockdown, it's definitely not easy this time around, but we are definitely supposed to be in this together. So I really hope that you are taking care and staying safe, and I shall see you guys soon. Bye.